Hey guys, welcome back. BDCKR here, and this is our weekly update / Q&A. As always, we'll start off with a quick update and start off with WWE Immortals. So as you can see, the current online multiplayer is DX Invasion Truck, and the current character challenge is for Sting. In Mortal Kombat X, the online challenge is just a regular season.
And we'd really be able to confirm it. The Faction Wars, we'd really be able to confirm it if we could get on. Right now we're actually having trouble getting on again.
And the current character challenge is Dark Raiden.
For not much longer.
And last but not least, in Injustice, the current online challenge is for Cassandra Cain Batgirl, and the current character challenge is for Arkham Knight Harley Quinn. So this is when we get a little bit less formal and we start our Q&A, but before that we gotta give a shout out to Unknown21714, who is the first person to guess the relevant gears on our 5-second win team.
Right, so the word relevant is important because we were only referring to the gears that were necessary for getting the result, right? So if you missed the comment where he got the right gears, the gears were, drumroll please, Blade of the War God, Fourth World Godly Mace, and Ra's al Ghul's Scimitar on Ares, and Cloak of Destiny on Batgirl. So the Scimitar was necessary for an immediate special 2. You know, you can't start with 2 bars otherwise on Ares. Blade and Mace were necessary for maximum splash damage to the other 2 opponents. And Cloak of Destiny for stunning on tag in to knock out Harley Quinn so that you don't waste any time getting to the last opponent, right? That's what saves you the last second, and it's only 5 seconds instead of 6. So it could have also been LexCorp gear for the stun chance, but that's where the guessing comes into play, right? And there were a few comments that mentioned Demon Blade. So although Demon Blade is normally a great use of a gear slot on Ares, now that augmentations allow for built-in crit chance, adding that extra 15% splash damage from the mace is, so instead you end up with an extra because of the mace. That 15% can translate to either 30,000 or more than 80,000 splash damage. And the difference is crit versus non-crit when there are 2 opponents on the sideline at the beginning of the fight. And that extra 15% splash damage is way more valuable than increasing crit chance. At least it seems that way based on how we're looking at the numbers. So, yeah. Congrats, Unknown21714. You've got the glory of getting it right.
Okay, our first question comes from Games Brit, and he says, "Hi, great and informative video as always. Thank you. What is your view regarding the DX Invasion Truck challenge being offered on WWE Immortals over and over and over again?"
Yeah, it's probably a good thing. It seems like there's a new 4-star gear available every month in Immortals to coincide with the wrestling pay-per-views. So it's definitely not a bad thing to get a break every once in a while, and the DX Invasion Truck is pretty much the same as a regular season for us. For the number of exclusive gears that they've included in season rewards, regular seasons and the DX Invasion Truck are probably part of the reason why we're still playing it, right? Otherwise we'd be pretty burned out from trying to rank up in the season, the online play every single season. At some point you just can't keep on going, and it's a nice break for us.
Our next question comes from Ayush Arvind, and he says, "Although guys, I do have a doubt. You had warned against using augmented players in Survivor because they would just get more augmented opponents, right? Well, I applied the extra damage cards and health cards to my team of level 50 E7 Metahuman Flash, Static, and Raven, and the opponents are still the same. As in, I still leave at battle 10 to 12, which I usually did before augmenting them. Basically, I mean to say that there's no difference between the opponents. I have update 2.6.0. Crits are working since 2.7.0, right? Maybe that's why opponents are still unvaried. Can you help? Kudos."
Yeah, thanks for the question. So you're sort of making our point for us, right? The opponents that you face won't necessarily change, but the higher the stats on your characters, basically damage and health, the higher the stats on your opponents. So that the fact that you're not getting any further in battles is kind of making our point for us. Augmenting damage and health doesn't offer an advantage if your opponent's damage and health are also higher. But I mean, the other thing is the scaling up of stats. Once you get past maybe around 5 or 6 battle in Survivor, that scaling up matters probably a little bit more than the amount of damage and health that you get anyways. So I'm not surprised you can't gain for it, even if there were an advantage for augmenting. Except for crit chance and crit boost, I think to us that's probably the most important stats actually. Other than those, you're not really getting a huge amount of benefit because your opponents are scaling up so much. So that's why when we use a bronze team and we're facing gold cards in Survivor, we're still able to win because their stats scale down to what our stats are.
Yeah, so it wasn't necessarily that it would for sure be harder, it was more that it would be wasteful if you were planning on using them primarily for Survivor.
Yeah, it won't get any easier.
Yeah. Our next question comes from Jonathan LaSalle, and he says, just out of curiosity, guys, how many times of landing on the gear slot within the last laugh tickets did it take you to get the third world and LexCorp gear sets? On about my third time of landing on the gear slot of the last laugh tickets, I earned one of the third world gear. Since then, I've landed on it about 30 to 50 times, and I've only acquired basic gear. Is this common? This has been really aggravating to me because I'm now unable to complete an epic battle online due to me getting out-geared. Thanks in advance.
Alright, so I love this question for a couple of reasons, but to answer the actual thing that you're asking, there probably isn't any way to improve your chances of getting the Survivor exclusive 4-star gears. Random number generator, or as we like to call it here, RNGs, is fickle. So the chance of getting something good doesn't improve when you, as an example, doesn't improve when you bank your tickets, but there's sort of a reason why we do it. When we bank our tickets, we are much less likely to be frustrated. So why this is cool is it brings into our discussion a concept called negativity bias. And if you look up negativity bias in Wikipedia, it says it describes the idea as, something very positive will generally have less of an impact on a person's behavior and cognition than something equally emotional but negative. So the negative stuff, that negative bias is that negative stuff will influence us more than good stuff. Bad stuff influences us more than negative stuff. Bad stuff influences us more than good stuff. So because the gear sets are much less common than the usual crap that we can get with last laugh tickets, most times when we cash out, it's really just one failure after another, right? We're more likely to fail at getting what we want than we are to get it. So if we reinforce that failure repeatedly through runs of Survivor, then we're left with a really bad taste in our mouths that even eventually getting LexCorp gear won't wash away. So you play Survivor, you cash out 4 last laugh tickets, you get crap, man, Survivor sucks. You do that again, man, Survivor sucks. You do that again, and you finally get the LexCorp gear sometime, in the future, but it still takes you a whole bunch of runs, and it's reinforced every time you're doing it, right? So by banking the number of tickets and redeeming a lot of them at once, we do 2 things. One, each time we play Survivor, we aren't feeling ripped off because we get crap every time. We're saving that ripped off feeling for one big go. And when we finally do cash out a bunch at once, that ripped off feeling is usually mitigated by the fact that even though our chance per ticket isn't any better, cashing a bunch of tickets at once means that we're more likely to get something good during that one big orgy of cashing out. So, alright, so let's put it another way, like as a sort of made-up thought experiment. If the chance of getting LexCorp gear, or any other gear set gear, the special ones, right, is 1 in 50, and you get it after 50 tickets, there's a different level of frustration with the 2 scenarios. So in one scenario, you play Survivor 10 times, you cash out 5 tickets each time, and 9 times of nothing any good, and that makes you feel worse about playing Survivor. Or you could play Survivor 10 times, bank the tickets, cash out once. And if 49 tickets are no good, but you get 1 piece of LexCorp gear, I don't think, well, at least for us, I don't feel that lousy when that happens.
Okay, and our last question comes from Kevin Johnson, and he says, why can't you do a face reveal? This is probably the easiest question. We're in Witness Protection Program.
Okay.
Anyways.
Yeah, not really. But,
or are we? No. But are we?
So, yeah, I think we've sort of addressed this. We did a sort of silly kind of almost face reveal back when we got 1 million views, and we were sort of celebrating that, but we're not really, I mean, this is still just a hobby for us. I think we've said this before a few times, but this is just a hobby for us. And we are not really ready to be part of the spectacle. And I guess we'd always reconsider. I mean, if this ever became big, which we doubt it will, if it ever became big enough that this could be like make a living for somebody, and that mattered, yeah, maybe it is. But we're just kicking around, having fun, and we figured that the worst that'll happen if we do something stupid and later on we change our minds and want not to be associated with it. It's a lot easier if we just keep it as our BDCKR Gaming, and we don't put our names in it, and we don't put our faces to it. We could be wrong, and it's always sort of subject to change, right? But as it stands right now, we're just happy to do what we do and leave it at that.
They're pretty perfect timing. Anyways, we'll see you guys next time. Komoda.